Hi, and once again, welcome to One a Day, Letter X. Today is a really interesting day because the letter X, under normal circumstances, doesn't have much to say. But today we have a wonderful coverage, and it's related to the X Factor. Now, not X Factor, the music series X Factor, the dancing show, no. It's X Factor. What does X Factor mean? An extraordinary, outstanding ability. Now, in June 10th, under the Nikkei Asian Review, an article was written which said, uncovering Japan's coronavirus X Factor matters to the world. It's an interesting article because it focused on Japan, a nation which is primarily city-based, urban-based, a nation which has the oldest population, a nation which has most of the risk factors involved being old age and urban, easy to spread, close quarters, and so on. But then it did not suffer the consequences of the West. And the question was, is there an X factor in the Japanese culture that enables them to have less occurrence of COVID? And does that X factor principle apply to Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, between the 23rd parallels on either north or south? That is the region of the world with the least number of infections, deaths, and so on. Is there an X factor involved? I don't know. But let me tell you about Japan, because since I live in Kenya, I think I can speak about Japan. It's not my country, and I can see from that article the actions that the Japanese government has taken to help overcome or beat COVID-19 in their country. Number one, Japan had a very robust tracking system. They knew where the clusters were and they tracked their spread. Number two, the government action like shutting down schools, closing gatherings, and so on and so forth was done very early on. Number three, it was wondered, did BCG play a part in that? Because many of them were vaccinated with BCG from an early childhood, and also the Japanese culture, which tends to be very formal, less intrusive, and very private. In some cases, not everywhere. But we find that over and above, there is a reason why certain countries and certain cultures were able to tame COVID-19 because of the X factor. I bring that question here to Africa, where it was expected that there would be a lot of doom and gloom. And yet, people are still holding out that the COVID pandemic may increase and may spread. But so far, it hasn't. It's a slow burn. The question is, does Africa also have an X factor? I leave that to you to debate. And the jury is out because many articles have been written about Africa claiming it's a youthful population, it's a population that has been vaccinated. All sorts of things have been said about Africa. But you know what? I believe we have an X factor. And that X factor is us. Thank you. Moving on, I'm going to talk about X-rays. It's an interesting day. Today is a whole medical day. X-rays is an electromagnetic, high energy, very short wavelength wave of energy which is able to pass through many materials opaque to light. You know, during this time, and speaking personally, I have witnessed the departure of many of my clients during this COVID pandemic. I think about 80% of clients I served have downscaled, downsized, closed up, and also requested that my services be withheld. And it is a tough time for me because I have to look for alternatives and try to build a business, and I have business plans, and there are so many things we had scheduled for 2020 of which we are still on course to achieve, but otherwise we are still tested. And it just reminds me that when you take an X-ray, you normally see your bone structure. You see the structures underneath your skin. You see what you're made of. And I think during this COVID pandemic, one of the things that we need to do is take an X-ray of our mental, physical, and spiritual structures within us. We need an X-ray to tell us whether we are properly structured. We need an X-ray to tell us whether our bones are strong, our internal structures are strong, and where it is weak, we can seek support to strengthen the weakened areas and build up and shore up our strength. We need an X-ray to tell us whether we are spiritually healthy, mentally healthy, physically healthy, just to know that we don't have any bone loss, like osteoporosis or so on. And that could also be a spiritual osteoporosis where we weaken our faith, or a mental osteoporosis where we go into depression. And osteoporosis being the condition where the bones weaken. And imagine if your will to live weakens, your spiritual willpower weakens, your physical willpower weakens, because the conditions have become so tough, the debt burdens are rising, and the conditions of the world are not favorable. 2020 will be a year when we saw life in 2020. The real picture, the real truth. But you know what? Taking an X-ray is good for you because it reveals that which is hidden from light. The stuff that nobody knows. The things that cannot be seen on your face. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take an X-ray and check out our structure, our willingness to stand, our internal engine, our strength, internal strength. And for me, my X-ray should reveal on a spiritual level the source of my strength, the source of my faith, the source of my standing. So guys, please give yourself time to take an X-ray. You will thank me later. Thank you. God bless. Take care. See you on letter Y.